Here's the thing. I always thought weddings brought people together. At least, that's what everyone says, right? But when it came to mine, it ended up being the exact opposite. It started with something so small, so stupid, that I honestly laughed the first time it came up. I figured it was one of those fleeting comments people make and then forget about. But I should have known better, because it came from my sister, Melissa. Melissa has always been the kind of person who needs to be noticed. The kind of person who, if you walk into a room wearing a new dress, she'll suddenly remember she bought something similar but better and will conveniently wear it to the next family gathering. She's not cruel, not outwardly anyway, but she has this way of making every situation orbit around her. So when I told her about my wedding date, June 15th, a sunny garden ceremony I dreamed of for years, she smiled and said, "Oh, that's perfect. I already have the dress I'll wear. It's this gorgeous white satin gown I never got to wear to prom. I'll finally have the occasion." I laughed, out loud, like she'd just told me a joke. "Melissa," I said, still smiling because I thought she was joking, "you can't wear white to my wedding. You know that." She didn't laugh back. She tilted her head like I'd said something offensive. "Why not? It's just a color. It's not like you own the color white." And right there, I should have realized this wasn't going to be a one-and-done conversation. I tried to brush it off that day. Because it's a wedding. Because the bride wears white. Because literally everyone knows that. But Melissa crossed her arms and said, "That's a stupid tradition. I look amazing in white. Why should I wear some dull color just so you can feel special?" That sentence lodged in my chest. So you can feel special. I didn't argue with her then. I just shook my head and said, "Please don't make this a thing. There are a million colors you'd look gorgeous in. Just not white. Okay?" She didn't answer me. And that's how the battle line was drawn. In the weeks that followed, I'd catch little comments dropped here and there. At dinner with my parents, she'd sigh dramatically and say, "It's not like I'll be allowed to wear what I want anyway." Or she'd text me photos of ivory cocktail dresses with captions like, "Would this be too distracting?" At first, I tried to keep it lighthearted. I'd send back a laughing emoji, or I'd ignore it. But then my mom got involved. We were sitting in her kitchen one Sunday morning when she cleared her throat and said, "Sweetheart, maybe you could let Melissa wear the dress. Just this once." I blinked at her. "What? Mom, are you serious?" "She's right. It is just a color," Mom said, her hands wrapped around her coffee mug. "If it makes her happy and avoids drama, it creates drama." I snapped. "She's literally trying to upstage me at my own wedding. That's not normal." Mom sighed like I was being unreasonable, like I was the dramatic one. You know how she is. If you tell her no, she'll just dig in harder. Wouldn't it be easier to let her have this one thing? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Easier for who? Not for me. Not for the person who's supposed to be the bride. Mom didn't answer. She just sipped her coffee, and the silence felt heavier than any argument. That was the moment I realized I wasn't just up against Melissa. I was up against my whole family. And I hadn't even told my fiancé, Daniel, about it yet. I'll never forget the night I finally did. We were sitting on the couch, his hand resting on my knee, the TV flickering in the background. I took a deep breath and said, "So, there's this thing. With Melissa." He raised an eyebrow. "What kind of thing?" I explained the white dress. The comments. The pressure from my mom. By the time I finished, his jaw was tight. "Are you kidding me?" he said. "She wants to wear white to our wedding? That's insane." "I know," I muttered. "Then it's simple. You tell her no. End of story." I wanted to believe it was that simple, but I could already feel the storm brewing. Because Melissa doesn't hear no and let it go. She hears no and turns it into a crusade. And I had no idea just how far she'd go. 2 days after that conversation with Daniel, I woke up to 3 missed calls from my mom and a text in the family group chat from Melissa that read, "Quick poll for everyone. Should traditions evolve? Yes or no?" She attached a picture of 2 gowns laid across a bed. One was a pale blush, soft and romantic. The other was blinding white satin with a sweetheart neckline and the kind of sheen you only see under boutique spotlights. My Aunt Linda responded first with 12 heart emojis, and "Both are lovely." My cousin Becca chimed in with, "You'd look great in either, Mel." Nobody said the obvious, like the word wedding or off-limits. Nobody wanted to be the first to step on the landmine. So I did. I typed, "Hey, friendly reminder. No white, ivory, cream, or anything super close. The blush is pretty though." The typing bubbles popped up, vanished, popped up again like someone was pacing with their thumbs. Then Melissa didn't realize I needed to dress by committee. Thought this was a celebration. I stared at that sentence for a long time. Daniel was at the counter making coffee. The kitchen smelled like toasted almonds and vanilla creamer. It should have been a normal morning. I should have been thinking about the seating chart or the playlist or the tiny pressed flowers in my invitation suite. Instead, I felt my stomach burn like I'd swallowed battery acid. I'm going to just call her, I said to Daniel. He handed me my mug and nodded. Be calm. Say your boundary once. Then hang up if she starts arguing. I called. She picked up on the second ring, already sighing. Is this about the group chat? Because, honestly, you've made the vibe so controlling. Melissa, I said, keeping my voice level, I'm not controlling. I'm asking you, one person, to not wear the one color that's traditionally for the bride. I put in the invitation that the dress code is garden formal with jewel tones or pastels, no white or off-white. Everyone else seems fine with that. Everyone else, she repeated, flat as glass. You mean your friends who will forgive you for anything? This isn't about forgiveness. It's about respect. I respect you, she said, and then in the same breath. But I'm not going to look washed out in some lime green nightmare for your photos. I said jewel tones or pastels. That's a spectrum, not lime green. She exhaled into the receiver, a long gust that made the speaker crackle. You want me to fade. You always have. You love when I dim so you can glow. Where is this coming from? My voice was shaking now. I'm asking for one day. You've been getting one day since we were kids, she snapped. Dance recitals where mom had to stop everything to fix your bow. Birthday parties where we couldn't play the game I wanted because it might upset you. Everything has been centered on you. I opened my mouth to argue, then closed it. My mind did that panicked dredging of the past, scooping up moments, trying to figure out whether she was describing reality or resentments. I remembered Mom fussing with my costume ribbon. Yes, but I also remembered Melissa getting the bigger bedroom because she was older, Melissa getting the car first, Melissa going to Europe the summer after senior year while I lifeguard at the community pool. This rewrite of our lives felt like a trap door that had been under my feet the whole time. Maybe that's how it felt, I said finally. But this isn't about childhood. It's about my wedding. I need you not to wear white. And I need to feel beautiful. People will take pictures. This is the first time James will meet everyone. Oh, there it was, the new boyfriend with the sharp jawline and the nuanced opinions about craft beer. They'd been dating 6 months. I'd met him twice. He was polite, a little distant, the kind of guy who leaves his phone face down with a careful smile. James will think you look beautiful in anything, I said. She laughed, short and mean. You don't know what James thinks. I know what's right for my wedding, I said. My eyes burned suddenly. I felt a knot in my throat like I'd swallowed a peach pit. You can wear the blush. You can wear emerald or lavender or literally any other color. But if you show up in white, I will have to ask you to leave. Silence. I could hear her breathe. I could feel my heart trying to punch through my ribs. When she spoke again, her voice was low and incredulous. You'd kick your own sister out? If you force me to choose between my boundary and your outfit, yes. I swallowed. Please don't make me choose. She didn't answer. The line rustled, like she was moving the phone from ear to ear. When she spoke again, the tone was lighter, almost cheerful. Fine. Since you're so worried, I'll send you what I'm thinking. And you can approve it like the Empress of June 15th. Melissa, gotta go, she sang. Love ya. She hung up. I stared at my reflection in the black screen. My cheeks were flushed. Daniel slid onto the stool next to me. How bad? She said she'll send me options, I said. Like I'm a school principal approving skirt length. Send them to me too, he said, squeezing my knee. We'll make a game of it and drink wine. We did not get a game. We got a volley. Over the next hour, my phone pinged relentlessly. A satin column in pearl, a tiered lace dress described as snow, a bodycon number that looked like it came with its own flash photography. Mixed in were a few actual colors, but the captions were mocking. If I must dim myself, do I have to look like a cupcake? Don't be jealous. I didn't answer any of them. I sent one message: blush, periwinkle, sage, mauve, navy, or champagne with gold undertones, not ivory. Final list. Thank you. She read it. 2 gray checks turned blue, then nothing. That afternoon, my mom called again. You made your sister cry, she said without hello. I didn't make her cry. I set a normal boundary. Well, she is very hurt, Mom said. She feels like you're trying to control who she is. I'm trying to keep the attention on the ceremony that's literally about me and Daniel. Couldn't you just seat her in the back if she insists on white? Mom asked, like she was suggesting extra lemon slices for tea. Absolutely not. I stood up from the kitchen stool, too full of adrenaline to stay seated. Mom, I love you, but I am not managing this by hiding my sister. She can pick any beautiful color. She's choosing not to. And if she chooses white, she chooses not to attend. Mom was quiet for a long beat. Then she said, Your grandmother asked what she should wear, and I told her you're banning white outright, including her cream suit she loves. She's very upset. My jaw dropped. I never banned Grandma's suit. I said no white or off-white for guests. Cream is fine if it's clearly beige. Grandma's suit is beige. You twisted my words. I did not twist anything. Please stop adding drama, I said. Please, Mom. I need you to help me, not stir things up. I'm trying to keep this family together, she snapped. You're the one threatening to turn your sister away at the door like a nightclub bouncer. I closed my eyes. I pictured the venue's vine-covered trellis, the aisle lined with delphiniums, the sky hopefully cooperatively blue. I pictured walking toward Daniel, his face open and steady. The calm felt very far away. I'm hiring a day of coordinator, I said. Her name is Leah. She'll help manage arrivals and make sure the dress code is followed. That way you don't have to be involved. You're hiring someone to police your own family? I'm hiring someone to let me enjoy my wedding, I said. I'd love for you to enjoy it, too. We ended the call with brutal politeness. That evening, Leah and I spoke for the first time. Her voice was warm, efficient. When I told her, in a distraught rush, about the white saga, she didn't gasp or judge. She said calmly, I enforce dress codes all the time. I'll have a couple of wrap options and jewel tones on hand in case anyone shows up out of code, and I'll have a plan for private conversations away from other guests. You won't see any of it unless you want to. I nearly cried from relief. Thank you. Congratulations, she said, with a smile in her voice. And don't apologize for wanting your own day. For 2 blissful days, nothing happened. I even began to enjoy finalizing the program. Daniel's sister, Maya, would read that short passage we loved, and my cousin Becca would walk our grandparents to their seats, and the DJ agreed to play the jazz version of the song we danced to in our kitchen the night we got engaged. It felt like a wedding again, like the best parts of our lives were lining up to meet us under the arbor. Then, on a bright Thursday morning, a courier left a garment bag on my porch with a sticky note, for your approval. Can't wait to celebrate you. M. I carried it inside on shaking arms. Daniel was at work. My hands fumbled with the zipper. Inside was a dress in a rich, shimmery color that caught the light like summer fruit, champagne, technically, but with a rose gold undertone that was definitely not white. I exhaled, a rush of relief making my knees weak. There was a folded card in the pocket. Compromise. I wanted to believe we were okay. I texted her, This is beautiful. Thank you for meeting me halfway. No response. An hour later, a notification popped up. Melissa had posted a story. It was a mirror selfie in her hallway, wearing the champagne dress. She looked stunning. The caption said, When you bend so they don't break. A little passive-aggressive, but not catastrophic. I set the phone down. I told myself to breathe. I told myself we'd turned a corner. I told myself my sister would show up, and we would put this behind us. That was when another notification lit my screen. A second story uploaded a minute later. It was a different mirror, a different dress. White. Not just white. The white dress from the group chat. Satin and sharp and glittering like a dare. The caption, Pack a backup, just in case. And right below it, a new message from an unknown number I recognized anyway, because I'd seen it over Melissa's shoulder. James. Hey. What's the actual situation with colors? Mel is super stressed. I'm just trying to keep the peace. My mouth went dry. My thumb hovered over the screen. I stared at the white dress that wasn't hypothetical anymore. And then I typed back to a man I barely knew. James, thanks for checking in. The dress code is garden formal. Colors welcome. White/off-white are reserved for me. If Melissa wears white, she will be asked to change or leave. I hope you both will choose to celebrate with us. He read it immediately. Dots flickered. Stopped. Flickered again. Then nothing. I sat there in the quiet house, heart thudding, tea cooling on the table, staring at the image of the white dress until it faded. Because if she was packing a backup, which one did she plan to actually wear? And what would I do if she decided to force this showdown in front of everyone I loved? 2 days later was my bridal shower. Maya and Becca planned it. Tea sandwiches, scones, a handful of silly games that made my grandma laugh until she covered her mouth. It was at a little cafe with ivy creeping up the brick and tiny glass teapots that looked like they belonged in a place where mice sew ball gowns for birds. I wore a blush sundress with a cardigan because the AC was aggressive. I told myself repeatedly, Melissa will wear the champagne dress. She sent it. She knows. She knows. The first hour was bliss. I forgot the ticking problem. We ate cucumber sandwiches and lemon squares, and I got a pack of embroidered napkins with our initials that made me stupidly emotional. Someone put a peony behind my ear. The light was kind, bouncing off the white tablecloths, making everyone look like they existed in a postcard. And then the door opened, the bell chimed, and Melissa walked in wearing white. Not the satin dress, but a white sundress with little eyelets and a wide belt like a bow. It was casual, not bridal, but it was white, and when she saw me seeing it, she smiled like a cat about to knock something off a shelf. My stomach dropped through the floor. Maya stood up so fast her chair scraped. Becca's face rearranged itself into her customer service smile. Mom clapped her hands, too brightly. Look who's here. I forced my mouth into a curve. My lips felt numb. Hey, I managed. You look summery. I stopped by the farmer's market, she said, as if her outfit had materialized from strawberries and spinach. She gave me a quick hug that smelled like citrus and expensive perfume. Don't worry, this isn't the dress for the wedding. I just thought you liked white for these things. There's this unspoken expectation, I guess, that the bride wears white to pre-events, but I didn't care about that. I just cared about standing in my own day without a shadow inches behind me. It's the bridal shower, Becca said lightly. We love color here. Melissa laughed like Becca had told a silly joke. She sat, crossed her legs prettily, and launched into a story about work, about how her boss mispronounced quiche, about how James had tried to learn a card trick and accidentally flung the deck across a restaurant. People laughed. People always laughed with her. I sat there and tried to relax my shoulders. During gifts, Melissa handed me a large flat box. I braced for a trap. Inside, wrapped in tissue, was a watercolor print of my venue. The arbor, the fountain, the lawn. It was beautiful. The artist had caught the way the trees framed the walkway like a held breath. For a second, the tension unclenched. This is stunning, I said honestly, and Melissa's face flickered, a warm softness sliding over the usual gleam. Thought you could hang it in your entryway, she said. First thing you see when you get home. Thank you, I said, and meant it. The Rumut. Grandma dabbed her eyes. Mom pressed her cheek with the heel of her hand like emotion had sprung a leak. But the peace didn't last. At the end, when people were lingering and nibbling the last scone crumbs, Aunt Linda cornered me by the window. Honey, your mom tells me you hired someone to turn people away if they were the wrong color. Is that true? It's not like a bouncer, I said. It's just a coordinator to help with logistics. Turning family away is not logistics, she said, lowering her voice. It's a chasm. It won't be an issue if people respect a very simple request, I said, trying to keep my tone mild. I could see Melissa over Aunt Linda's shoulder, laughing with Becca, her hands making theatrical shapes in the air. The white sundress fluttered when she moved. Well, Aunt Linda said, I just hope you think about whether the memory of winning will be worth losing a relationship. A few hours later, after the dishes were cleaned and the ribbon bouquet was a masterpiece of loops, I sat in my parked car outside our place and finally let myself cry. The kind of crying that makes your ribs ache like a bruise. Daniel came outside and knocked on the window, and when I opened the door, he crouched down and wrapped his arms around me, forehead pressed to mine. Tell me. She wore white, I said, to the shower. And then Aunt Linda gave me a speech about chasms. He made a low sound. Okay, we're going to make a very clear plan. You'll send a message tonight to your immediate family and wedding party clarifying the dress code in writing and stating the consequence. And then we let Leah handle it on the day. You're not discussing it further. What if they call me controlling? Then they don't actually respect you, he said, gently. And that's information. But either way, you will walk down that aisle, and we will get married. So I wrote the message. I tried to make it neutral, calm. Hi family and wedding party. Quick etiquette note as we get closer to the date. Dress code is garden formal. Colors welcome, but please no white, off-white, ivory, or anything that could be mistaken for the bride's dress in photos. If someone arrives in white/off-white, our coordinator will kindly offer a wrap or ask them to change. If that's not possible, they won't be able to attend the ceremony. This is truly not personal to anyone. It's just to keep the focus on the ceremony. Love you all and can't wait to celebrate. My phone lit up. Becca, love this, we'll back you up. Maya, crystal clear. Dad got it. Grandma, thumbs up emoji followed by, my suit is beige dear, not white, but I'll double check in daylight. Mom called immediately. I let it go to voicemail. Melissa didn't respond. At 11:37 p.m., a notification popped up. Melissa had posted again. It was a boomerang of 2 clinking champagne flutes, captioned, Big weekend coming. Stay tuned. I scrolled to see if there was more. There was another new photo on her main feed, a close-up of her hand on James's, being coy, her nails pale pink. In the comments, her friend Cara wrote, Is it happening? With a ring emoji. I stared at that ring emoji like it was a flare in a dark sky. Was Melissa planning to get engaged at my wedding? Announce it? Propose? My mind sprinted ahead, tripping over possibility after possibility. If she were white, and then she know? No, that was a bridge too far, even for her. I put the phone face down. I told myself, out loud, like a mantra, it's fine. The room hummed with the fridge and the street noise. My heartbeat eventually slowed. In the morning, I woke to a text from Becca. Heard through the grapevine Melissa asked the florist if they can add a white toss bouquet for a surprise moment. I shut it down, but you need to know. I sat straight up in bed, so fast I made myself dizzy. The room tilted. Because if she had a toss bouquet, what exactly was she planning to catch? I called the florist first. Hi, it's the June 15th garden wedding. My voice had that too bright edge, the one that makes customer service reps lean away from the phone. I took a breath and softened it. Sorry, this is the bride. I heard someone inquired about an additional white toss bouquet. The florist's tone was careful. We did get a question from a guest named Melissa about whether extra rose petals and a small bouquet would be available if needed. We told her all orders go through the client, not guests. Thank you, I said, gripping the edge of the counter. Please do not fulfill any changes that don't come from me or Daniel. Of course, she said. And for what it's worth, we see this sometimes. It doesn't need to touch your day if you don't want it to. The rehearsal dinner was that night at a cozy Italian place where the owner had insisted on sending us home with an extra tiramisu for luck. Daniel's parents were all warmth, all easy smiles. His dad made a toast about love being a daily choice, and I felt tears in my throat for a wholesome reason. For a minute, I imagined a different timeline where we didn't have a looming white dress standoff hanging over our heads. Then Mom and Dad arrived. Dad hugged me hard, murmuring, "Proud of you, kiddo." Mom squeezed my shoulders and whispered, "Let's not make a scene tonight, okay?" Which made me feel like I'd shown up with a megaphone and confetti cannon. Melissa came 5 minutes later in a sleek pantsuit that straddled the line between ivory and cream, depending on the light. Under the restaurant's warm bulbs, it looked beige enough, but every time she stepped near the doorway, the cooler light turned it ghost pale. The message was not subtle. I can get this close, and there's nothing you can do. I waited until dessert to ask her to step outside. The alley beside the restaurant smelled like oregano and rain. The bricks were damp, reflecting a slice of the moon. She leaned against the wall with the poise of someone in a photo shoot. "I need to ask you a straight question," I said. "Are you planning a proposal or announcement at my wedding?" She widened her eyes, wounded. "Wow, that's a wild accusation." "It's not an accusation. It's a boundary question. If you are, please don't. It's not the time." She smoothed her lapel. "Did you ever think maybe the world doesn't pause just because you're getting married? Life goes on. Other things happen." "Yes," I said, "which is why people wait for their own day. If you want an engagement party, I'll throw it. But not at my wedding." "I don't even know if it's happening," she said, shrugging. "Maybe James has a plan, maybe he doesn't." "Did you ask the florist for a bouquet?" She rolled her eyes. "I asked if there would be extra petals because I like petals, sue me." I stared at her. She smiled back, syrupy. "You're addicted to control," she said softly. "It's like you can't stop." I'm addicted to sanity, I shot back. And I'm done discussing it. If you wear white, you will be turned away. If you try to make an announcement, you will be asked to leave. That's not me being cruel. That's me protecting the day I'm marrying the person I love. She tilted her head. You always think love looks like rules. And you always think love looks like attention. The words were out before I could filter them. They hung there, ugly and true, and we both flinched. She straightened. For a second, I saw the little girl version of her, the one who made me bracelets out of yarn and cried when I lost mine at the playground. Then her jaw hardened. You'll regret this, she said. Not tonight, because I won't ruin your precious rehearsal, but you'll regret choosing a dress over your sister. She pushed off the wall and went back in. I stayed outside, counting to 10, then to 20. When I finally went back to the table, Daniel searched my face. I shook my head. Not now. He slid the extra tiramisu toward me like a peace offering. I ate 2 bites and tasted nothing but sugar and grit. When the dinner ended, Dad offered to drive Mom and Melissa home. He hugged me again, and his voice was low. She's not herself. What does that mean? I asked. He looked tired, older than he had in the dim restaurant lighting. She's been under a lot of pressure at work. She feels like she keeps getting passed over. And your mom hasn't helped. I waited. Hasn't helped how? You know how your mom is, he said gently. She thinks soothing someone means giving them what they want. She's been telling Melissa it's okay to stand up for herself about the dress. I told them both to knock it off, but I'm apparently outvoted at home. Dad, I said, my throat thick. If she shows up in white, she can't be there. He nodded once, slowly. I know. He squeezed my shoulder. I'll help Leah if it comes to that. After they left, Daniel and I walked home through the warm night, our fingers laced. He didn't try to fix it with platitudes. He just matched my pace. When we reached our street, he stopped and pulled me close. We could elope, he said, half joking, half not. City Hall. Tomorrow. I laughed, a little helpless. I want the arbor, I said. I want my grandma to see me walk down the aisle. I want Becca's reading and your dad's toast. Then we'll have it, he said. And if anything threatens to take it away, we'll cut that thread, not the day. I nodded. I believed him. The next morning, the day before the wedding, I woke to a text from Mom. Melissa is struggling. Please, for my sake, don't humiliate her tomorrow. Let's find a compromise. I typed. The compromise is any color but white. Deleted. Retyped. I won't humiliate anyone. But I won't let anyone humiliate me either. Sent it. There was no response. Instead, a few minutes later, my phone buzzed with a message from Leah. Morning. Final checks. Timeline. Vendor arrivals. And the dress code note for greeters. Would you like me to text you when your sister arrives, or handle silently? I stared at the option. Handle silently. My heart thudded. Handle silently, I wrote. Text Daniel if needed. I want to focus on getting ready. You got it, she wrote, followed by a little bouquet emoji. That afternoon, Maya and Becca arrived with garment steamers and a bag of snacks labeled for butterflies. We put on music. We danced while putting on eyeliner. For a few bright hours, it was exactly the way I had pictured it would be when I was little, trying on my mom's pearls, imagining a future carved out of good choices and gentle people. Then my phone buzzed on the vanity with a text from an unknown number. I opened it, expecting a vendor. Instead, I saw a single line. Don't worry. If she wears white, she won't make it down the aisle. There was no name attached. No context. I stared at it until the words blurred. My chest tightened. I looked up at Maya in the mirror. I just got a message, I said. And I don't know if it's a threat or a promise. We did our best to pretend that text didn't exist. Maya wanted to call the number immediately, but the digits were blocked. Becca, eyes narrowed, took a screenshot and sent it to Daniel and Leah with the caption, "Heads up, unknown number, possible nonsense, but feels weird." Leah responded almost instantly. Understood. I'll add an extra greeter near the entry and keep eyes on the processional path. You focus on hair and makeup. That phrase, you focus, became my flotation device. I sat still while the stylist twisted my hair into something that looked soft but was secretly ironclad. I pressed my lips together while she dabbed on a rosy color. I let the hum of women in a room soothe me, the rustle of fabric, the clink of hangers, the hiss of the steamer. At one point, Grandma came in wearing her beige suit and kissed my cheeks. "You look like happiness," she whispered. I clung to that. Daniel's text popped up. I love you more than any drama. See you under the arbor. We're good. I typed back. We're good. The venue sent a golf cart for us when it was time to move from the cottage to the bridal suite. The garden looked like a painting. The delphiniums were this impossible blue. The roses opened just enough to be generous. The sky did the one job I begged it to do, stay clear. As the cart bumped along the path, Liao walked beside it with a headset, a clipboard tucked under her arm like a shield. She gave me a quick smile. You look radiant. Timeline is on track. Guests are arriving. How's the dress code? I asked lightly, like I was asking about the weather. She flicked her eyes to mine. So far, so good. My lungs expanded for the first time in hours. We pulled up to the bridal suite, and as I stepped out, Leah's headset crackled. She tilted her head to listen, and her smile thinned almost imperceptibly. I'm going to step away for 1 second and greet your mom, she said. Maya is inside. She left with a brisk stride. Becca opened the door, and loveliness spilled out. Mirrors framed with gold, vases of peonies, a soft chaise that looked like a cloud. I exhaled again. Maybe that text was just some bitter person stirring the pot. Maybe this was going to be a story we laughed about years from now. A test I passed by not letting it ruin the day. 10 minutes later, Liao reappeared, and even her careful face couldn't hide the stressed line by her mouth. She closed the door behind her. Okay, she said gently. Just to keep you informed, your sister has arrived in a white gown. It's the satin one. The room went silent. Heat climbed from my chest to my ears. Is she changing? I spoke with her privately, Liao said. I told her I have a wrap and 2 alternative dresses in jewel tones she can borrow for the ceremony. She said she appreciates the options, but believes nobody owns a color, and her attendance is more important than fabric. Your mother is supporting her position. Your father is not. Maya stood up so fast the chaise squeaked. I'll go handle it. No, I said. My voice surprised me. It sounded calm, like a teacher breaking up a game that had gotten too competitive. Leah, thank you for handling it. Please tell my mom and sister again what the dress code is, and that if Melissa won't change, she can come back for photos after the ceremony if she's in a different color. But she can't be at the ceremony in white. Leah's eyes warmed with respect. Understood. She squeezed my hand and slid out the door. Maya sat down slowly. I'm going to make sure there's water and someone checks on Grandma, okay? She was vibrating with the need to act. Becca took my hand. Breathe with me. We inhaled together. We held it. We exhaled. On the third breath, I heard laughter outside the door, my mother's bright chiming and Melissa's lower, practiced musicality. A beat later, Leah's murmur, firm and quiet. The laughter faded. My phone buzzed with a message from Dad. Proud of you. I'm with Leah. Another buzz, from an unknown number, different than before. She won't ruin this. I promise. I stared at it. Becca leaned over my shoulder and frowned. Who is that? I have no idea, I said, and this time I felt less scared and more unnerved. If there were secret allies, there could be secret saboteurs. There was a knock. Leah stepped in, the tiniest sheen on her brow. Update. Your sister has left the check-in area. She is extremely upset. Your mother followed her. Your father is staying. I offered to hold the champagne dress here in case she changes her mind. The ceremony can begin on time. Maya hugged me like she was preventing an earthquake. My body shook for maybe 30 seconds, then settled. I nodded. We proceed. The next 20 minutes were a soft blur punctuated by sharp edges, the rustle of tulle, the weight of the veil, the way Maya cried when she fastened my bracelet. Outside, the quartet began to play something that made my chest swell. Leah lined up the processional, grandparents, parents, then Becca, and everyone moved like part of a gentle equation. From the gap in the hedge, I could see guests turning, smiles forming, phones rising. I could not see Melissa. I told myself that was good. I told myself that meant she had left, and we could heal later, after the vows, after the cake, after the last song, when the stars felt like confetti. Leah squeezed my elbow. Ready? Ready, I said. The doors opened. The music swelled. I stepped into the aisle, and time tilted. People blurred. The arbor came into single-point focus, and there was Daniel under it, looking at me like the world had gotten its act together. My father's arm was steady as we walked. My breath synced with the music, with the way the sun warmed the tops of my shoulders. This was it. This was our moment. Halfway down the aisle, a commotion stirred behind me. It was small at first, like a wind lifting the edge of a banner. Then it gathered a voice. Whispering. A scrape of chairs. A tiny gasp. Dad's grip tightened. Eyes on Daniel, he whispered. I kept walking. Daniel's face flickered, still steady, but something had shifted in his gaze as he looked past me and then back. Leah appeared in my periphery, moving like a chess piece to intercept something. Then came a sound like metal skittering on stone. People turned toward the back. I didn't. I kept moving. My heels touched the runner. The arbor was a heartbeat away. But the air itself felt charged, like a storm had rolled in silently and perched above our heads. Daniel's father, standing by the officiant, glanced toward the back, then reached for the mic with practiced calm. The quartet faltered, then recovered. Leah held up a hand, commanding. And just as Dad was about to place my hand in Daniel's, a clear voice rang out from behind the last row of seats, steady and bright. Wait, I need to say something. My body went cold. I closed my eyes for a second, only a second, and then I turned. Melissa was at the end of the aisle in the white satin gown. But she wasn't moving toward me. She was kneeling, and in her hand, she held a small box. For a heartbeat, nobody breathed. The world telescoped, the white of her dress, the box, the glittering band inside it, the look on James's face. He stood 3 rows back, mouth open, eyes darting between me and Melissa like he was still choosing a door on a game show. James, Melissa said, voice carrying in the garden air, you make me feel seen. You make me feel. Leah materialized like a guardian. She touched Melissa's elbow gently, voice neutral. Hi. Let's move this conversation to the side so the ceremony can continue. I'm talking to my partner, Melissa said, and the word partner was sharpened to a point. She turned her face back toward James, radiant with performance. Will you? Stop, I said. I didn't shout. I said it with the kind of steadiness that made the birds in the hedges pause. It crossed the space between us like a clean line. Every head swiveled to me. I stepped forward, released my father's arm, and held my bouquet at my side so my hands were free. This is not happening here. Melissa's smile went tight. You don't control. This is not happening here, I repeated. I felt Daniel beside me without looking. His presence was a wall at my back. My voice didn't shake. It surprised me how it didn't shake. You chose to wear white after I asked you not to. You chose to bring a ring. You chose to interrupt the processional. You are choosing, right now, to try to take my wedding from me. You are my sister, and I love you, but I will not let you do this. A murmur rippled. Mom stood up, hands fluttering. She just wants to share good news. This is not share time, Daniel said calmly, and somehow his voice cut through the noise like a bell. This is the wedding ceremony. James finally found his voice. Mel, maybe we should do this later. Later, she echoed, eyes flashing. You said you wanted to spend your life with me. I do, he said, stepping awkwardly into the aisle. But not. This isn't. He looked apologetically at me, at Daniel, at the arbor like it could offer him a script. He lowered his voice. Mel, please stand up. Leah touched Melissa's elbow again. Let's step to the side. For a moment, I thought she would stand and come quietly, and I would still get to trade vows under the flowers that smelled like mornings from childhood. Then Melissa yanked her arm back and rose quickly, box clacking shut. Her face was composed into something beautiful and impervious. You know what? She said brightly. It's fine. I can see I'm not welcome. I'll go. She paused, her eyes locking on mine. Something like grief flickered. I hope you're happy, she said. And then, as if to reclaim the last word, she dug into her clutch and pulled out the white toss bouquet she hadn't ordered. A tightly bound knot of roses she must have bought elsewhere. She tossed it in the air with a sharp, practiced flick. Time slowed. The bouquet arced in a perfect loop. Instinct from a million rom-coms made hands shoot up among the guests. But before anyone could touch it, Maya jumped like she was catching a softball at third base. She snatched it midair and, instead of keeping it, handed it to Leah with a look that could cut marble. The guests laughed, a touch hysterically, because laughter is a pressure valve. Melissa blinked, like the script had finally departed the stage without her. Then she turned and walked, head high, down the path. Mom followed, throwing me an unreadable look over her shoulder. A few relatives hesitated, then sank back into their seats when they saw Dad's face, a stone I'd never seen before. Silence settled in her wake. The birds started up again, cautiously. The quartet, Miracle Workers, slid into a gentle instrumental as if this interlude had been written in the program all along. Leah squeezed my hand, passed the bouquet to Becca, and mouthed, "You okay?" I nodded. I turned back to Daniel. His eyes shone. He reached for my hands. The officiant, a family friend with a steady voice, took a small breath and said, "Marriage is about honoring boundaries and showing up with love. Let's begin." We said the vows. I spoke the words like they were a rope I could hold on to. When Daniel slid the ring onto my finger, the garden narrowed to just us, to the small gravity of a promise. We were married. People cheered like they'd been underwater and finally broken the surface. I smiled until my face ached. We walked back down the aisle to applause that sounded like defiance and relief braided together. At the end of the path, behind a clipped hedge, Leah pressed 2 water bottles into our hands. "You did the hard thing," she said, "and you did it with grace." "Is she still here?" I asked, the question thudding like a dread drum. "Your mom drove her home," Leah said. "Your dad is staying. He asked me to tell you he's proud." I nodded. "Thank you." The rest of the afternoon unfolded like it belonged to the timeline again. Photos under the trees. Daniel's grandmother insisting on a picture with her cane, held triumphantly like a baton. The appetizers that tasted like summer, the clink of glasses, Maya's toast that made half the room cry, Becca's joke about the time I tried to make brownies without eggs and created chocolate plaster. We danced. I felt the joy, real and full. But under it there was a hum, like a wire vibrating. What would happen next? The Instagram comments were probably already ballooning. The group chat had probably burst, it seems. And there was the other layer, the text from the unknown number. "She won't ruin this. I promise." Who sent it? What had they done, or planned to do? If Maya hadn't caught the bouquet? If Leah hadn't intervened? During dinner, Dad tapped my shoulder and asked if he could steal me for a minute. We walked to the edge of the lawn, near the fountain where dragonflies skimmed the surface. He looked at the water, then at me. "Your mother is at home with your sister. It is not calm." "I didn't want it to be like this," I said. My throat tightened. But I couldn't get married with her kneeling in white at the back of the aisle. I couldn't. "I know," he said softly. He rubbed the bridge of his nose. "There's something you should know." I braced. "Last year, Melissa thought James would propose," he said. "She told your mother she wanted to wear the prom dress she never got to wear because she had the flu that week and said everything important goes wrong for her. Your mother told her the dress would make it right. Then the proposal didn't happen. Your mother has been encouraging her to reclaim that moment ever since." "I can't fix that," I whispered. "I know," he said, "but I can tell you it's not about you. It landed on you because your day is luminous." I nodded, tears gathering. He squeezed my hand. "You did the right thing." We walked back to the party. Daniel was laughing with his uncle near the bar, and the sight of him steadied me like it always does. When he saw my face, he opened his arms, and I went into them. "Hi, wife," he murmured into my hair, and I laughed even as tears slipped down. Later, on the patio light's first glow, I checked my phone. A storm of notifications. I didn't open Melissa's account. I didn't open Mom's texts. I did, however, open one new message from the unknown number. "Happy you still got your aisle. You don't know me. You're welcome." I stared at the words, feeling the edges like sharp glass. I typed, "Who is this?" No response. The DJ called for the first dance. We stepped into the circle of light, and for 3 minutes there was only music and the sure way his palm fit mine. But as the night settled into toasts and cake and soft shoes abandoned near chairs, a tremor went through the crowd. Some people tilting heads toward phones, others whispering over screens. My cousin Becca's face tightened. She crossed the dance floor and took my elbow gently. "Don't look now," she said, "but there's a post going around, and it's not kind." My stomach sank. "From Melissa?" "And Mom," she said quietly. "They're saying you humiliated her. And there's a video." I didn't watch the video at the reception. I refused to give it oxygen in a room that held so much good. But I heard snippets from people trying to protect me. A 30-second clip of me saying, "This isn't happening here," cut without context so I looked cold. A slow pan of Melissa in white, the caption, "When your own sister can't celebrate your joy." Mom had added a comment. "Families should lift each other up, not tear each other down." Becca and Maya tried to intercept anyone approaching me with a phone. Daniel's mother hugged me and said, "You were dignified. Anyone who knows you knows that." That helped. A little, like aloe on a burn. Still, by the time we left under a tunnel of sparklers, my chest hurt from holding myself together. In the car, Daniel took my hand and kissed my knuckles. "Do you want to see it?" he asked. "Or do you want to wait until tomorrow?" "Now," I said. "Rip it off." He pulled up the post. He watched first, eyes scanning, jaw steady. Then he passed the phone to me. The video had been shot from the back, angled artfully to capture my face when I turned. The music had been dampened so my stop sounded stark, almost theatrical. The comments were already sliding into teams, people who thought I was a tyrant, and people who thought Melissa had committed social arson. "This is going to live for a while," I said softly, "even if she deletes it." "Then we tell the truth once," Daniel said, "and we let it sit." "How?" I asked. "I don't want to have a public fight. I don't want to invite strangers into this." "You don't have to," he said. "We can just send a message to the family group chat with the facts." My phone buzzed as if on cue. "Dad." I removed myself from the comments. "I will call your mother tomorrow." "Becca, we've been reporting slander, but I know it's a whack-a-mole." "Maya, you were composed and kind. I'd make the same choice again for you 1,000 times." I breathed. "Okay," I said. "I'll write one message." In the quiet of our hotel room, still smelling like garden and cake, I typed. I did not humiliate anyone. I asked Melissa months ago not to wear white. She arrived in white with the intention to propose during the ceremony. I calmly asked her to stop. Our coordinator offered alternatives. She chose to leave. This is the truth. Please do not add fuel online. If you love us, let us enjoy being newlyweds for one day. Dad hearted it. Becca too. Grandma sent a flower emoji and, "Proud of your grace." Mom did not respond. Melissa replied privately, "Delete your victim narrative." I put the phone on the nightstand and crawled into Daniel. We slept like people who had outrun a wave and collapsed on the shore. Morning came with soft light and the impossibly normal sound of a coffee maker drip. Daniel handed me a cup and a smile. "Today we do nothing except be married," he said. "We'll handle fallout tomorrow." There was a knock at the door mid-morning. Daniel looked through the peephole and turned back with a face that tried to be neutral and failed. "It's your mother." My stomach went cold. "Let her in." Mom stepped in, eyes rimmed in red. The exhaustion of a dream that hadn't gone her way etched around her mouth. She hugged me, and I stood stiff for a second before hugging her back. She smelled like her perfume, gardenias and the faintest hint of powder. "I came to apologize for the video," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "It got away from me." "You posted it," I said. "I was upset," she said. "My daughter was hurting." "I was your daughter too," I said, and the sentence shook a little. "And I was getting married." She swallowed. I know. It's just, Melissa has felt so lost this year. I thought if I let her have this moment." "You didn't let her have a moment," I said gently. "You helped her plan a scene." She flinched. Tears gathered. "I miss when we were all sweet. When you were little, and you shared a bedroom, and you pretended to be mermaids." I did too. The memory hit me in the sternum. Little us on the floor, our legs inside pillowcases, calling them tails. "We can get back to sweetness," I said. "But it can't be built on me erasing myself." She nodded slowly, tears slipping. I told her she can't stay with me if she's going to attack you online. She's with a friend. I'm letting your father handle her for a bit." It wasn't perfect, but it was something. We stood in this fragile truce for a moment. Then Mom reached into her bag and pulled out a small velvet pouch. "Your grandmother wanted you to have this." Inside was a tiny brooch shaped like a sprig of lily of the valley. She wore it at her wedding. "She forgot to give it to you yesterday in the commotion." I pinned it to my robe, and it felt like an anchor. "Thank you." Mom sniffed, tried to smile. "Can I take you to lunch? Or will that feel like an ambush?" I laughed, surprised. "If it's just you and me, I'll risk it." We went to a diner and split pancakes like we used to when I was a teenager who believed syrup could fix a mood. Mom told stories about her own wedding that I hadn't heard. How Uncle Paul had been so hungover he accidentally congratulated the wrong bride on the way in. How her veil had blown into the punch bowl. How Grandma had cried happy tears and then pretended she had allergies. We laughed until we both had to dab our eyes. When she dropped me back at the hotel, I felt lighter, but only in the new space we'd carved. The concrete parts remained. My phone flashed with a new text from an unknown number, the same unknown number that had messaged me, I realized belatedly, before the ceremony. It contained a photo of a bouquet tossed into the air and two hands reaching. The angle was from the hedge line. The caption read, "Glad she missed." I looked at the number again, a sequence without a name. A thought crossed my mind. What if this wasn't some random ally? What if this was James? I typed, "Who is this?" A minute later, "A friend." Another, "You don't need to know me. Just know that not everyone is on her side when she's wrong." A chill crept up my arms. The words felt like a gift wrapped in something eerie. I showed Daniel. He frowned. "We need to be careful. If it's James, that's messy. If it's someone else in your family, that's messy, eh? Or someone I don't know," I said, stomach twisting. I hate that I'm grateful and creeped out. We didn't answer. We put the phones face down again and went to sit by the hotel pool, where children were shrieking in the kind of happiness that sounds like chaos. For an hour, the sun warmed me enough to dissolve the edge of the day before. Then my phone buzzed with Dad's name. I answered. His voice was weary but clear. "Your sister wants to talk. Face to face. Today. If you want. Or not. You don't owe her anything." I looked at Daniel. He shrugged, supportive but letting me lead. I could feel the cliff in front of me. Maybe it would be a bridge, maybe it would be a drop. "Okay," I said. "I'll meet her at the park by our old school at 5. I hung up, my heart already pacing. Maybe this was the moment she'd apologize. Or maybe she'd want me to apologize for protecting my own wedding. Either way, I was going to hear the reason straight from her mouth. I didn't know if I was walking into a peace talk or an ambush. All afternoon, my stomach knotted like I'd swallowed stones. Daniel tried to distract me. Ordered room service, flipped through channels, even pulled me out to sit on the balcony with coffee, but my mind kept circling back to 5 o'clock. The park by our old school. A place full of echoes, kickball games, scraped knees, afternoons sitting on the swings while Melissa read aloud from library books in dramatic voices. I kept asking myself, was that who I was going to see again? Or was it the woman in white with a ring box and a camera phone trained on her tears? At 4:45, Daniel asked if I wanted him there. I shook my head, even though every nerve screamed yes. "If she sees you, she'll think it's 2 against 1, I said. "I want her to know I'm not hiding behind anyone." He kissed the top of my head. "Text me if anything feels off. I'll be 5 minutes away." The park looked smaller than I remembered. The swings creaked when the breeze moved them, paint peeling on the slide. The late summer heat clung to everything, making the air heavy. I sat on a bench with my hands folded tight in my lap, staring at the cracked pavement where we used to chalk hopscotch. Melissa showed up at 5:07. Punctuality had never been her thing. She wore sunglasses even though the sun was low, and a pale blue dress that, at least, wasn't white. Her shoulders were pulled back, her chin high, like she was already on defense. She stopped a few feet away and crossed her arms. "Thanks for agreeing to this." I nodded. I figured we needed to talk without an audience. Her laugh was short, brittle. "Everything's an audience now, isn't it?" She gestured vaguely, like to the whole internet. I studied her face. She looked tired in a way makeup couldn't fix. "You posted the video." Her jaw worked. "Mom did first. I added my side." "Which made me look like I'd attacked you for existing," I said softly. "On my wedding day." Melissa finally pulled her sunglasses off. Her eyes were rimmed red. "Do you know what it feels like to always be the one in the background? You get the grades, the job, the friends who actually stick, the guy who wants to marry you. I get almost engaged, almost promoted, almost happy. And then you tell me I can't even wear white to your wedding, like I'm some stranger you're afraid will steal the spotlight." I let that hang in the air for a second. "Melissa, you didn't just wear white. You planned a proposal during my ceremony." Her mouth pressed flat. "James wanted to. I just helped make it special." I shook my head. "James didn't want to. Did you hear him? He looked like he wanted the earth to swallow him." For a moment, she faltered. Her arms dropped, and she hugged herself like she was cold. "He should have gone along with it," she muttered. "It would have been perfect." "No," I said gently. "It would have been humiliating, for him, for you, for me. And you would have regretted it the second the applause faded." Her eyes flicked up to mine, wet now. "You make it sound like I'm pathetic." "I think you're hurting," I said. My throat tightened, because it was true. "But I'm not your punching bag." I can't be the person you tear down when life doesn't give you what you want. We sat in silence for a long moment, the cicadas buzzing like static. Finally, she said, "You always sound so reasonable. And I always sound dramatic." I almost smiled. That's because I rehearse in my head for 3 hours before saying anything. Her laugh cracked, real for the first time in days. Then it vanished. "So where do we go from here?" I looked at the swing set, where 2 kids were chasing each other in circles. "I want us to be sisters again. But that starts with honesty. No more ambushes. No more public posts. No more white dresses at other people's weddings." Her lips twitched. "That last one's oddly specific." I raised an eyebrow. "You think?" For a second, it felt like we could laugh our way back to something. But then her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and her whole face changed, tense, defensive, almost guilty. "Who is it?" I asked. She shoved the phone back in her purse. "Nobody." But my stomach dropped, because the look on her face was the same look I had when I saw the unknown number's texts. "Melissa," I said slowly, "is someone texting you about this? About me?" Her eyes darted away. "I don't have to tell you everything." And just like that, the fragile bridge between us started to crack. I leaned forward on the bench, my palms sweating. "Melissa, listen to me. I've been getting messages too. From someone who says they're protecting me from you." Her head snapped toward me, sharp enough that the sunglasses nearly slid from her hand. "What?" "An unknown number. They texted before the ceremony. They sent a picture of you tossing that bouquet. They keep saying things like, 'She won't ruin this.'" Melissa's face went pale, like chalk. She gripped the strap of her purse so tightly it cut into her skin. "You're lying." "I'm not," I said. "Show me your phone." "No." Her voice cracked. "It's private." A horrible thought rooted itself in my gut. "Melissa, are you the one texting me?" Her eyes flashed, offended. "Why would I warn you about myself? Why would anyone?" I shot back. We sat in taut silence, the park noises muffled, until she whispered, "I've been getting messages too. But mine say things like she doesn't love you and she'll always win." "I thought it was you." My heart stuttered. "Me? Yes. Who else would want to mess with me?" Her eyes filled again, this time not with rage, but with something raw. "You think you're the victim, but someone's playing us both." For the first time, I believed her. And the thought that there was a third person, someone in the shadows, stirring the fire, made my blood run cold. I opened my phone, pulled up the unknown texts, and held it out. "Compare numbers." Melissa hesitated, then scrolled her own screen and angled it toward me. Different numbers. Same tone. Same strange familiarity. The hairs rose on the back of my neck. "Who would do this?" she whispered. I didn't know. But the sun slipped lower, and suddenly the park felt less like a childhood memory and more like a stage where someone else was pulling the strings. Daniel and I stayed up half the night, phones face up between us, screens glowing with those cryptic texts. He wanted to go to the police. I wanted to demand answers from every cousin, every family friend who might hold a grudge. But mostly, I wanted to know why. The next morning, before I could even sip my coffee, another message arrived. "You two are finally talking. Good. Maybe now you'll realize what family really means." No name. No clue. Just the same creeping sense that this person wasn't a stranger at all. I sent back, "Who are you? Stop hiding." No reply. Melissa texted me an hour later. "Got one too." Exact same words. So we weren't being played against each other anymore. We were being played together. I sat back in the hotel chair, my wedding band still strange and new on my hand, and felt something click into place. This wasn't about white dresses or proposals. This was about control. Someone wanted to shape our story, make us dance to their script. Daniel squeezed my shoulder. "Then we don't dance." For the first time since the aisle, I felt steady. The texts could keep coming. The post could flare and burn out. Melissa and I weren't suddenly healed, but we'd seen the same shadow, and that meant we weren't enemies anymore. I typed one final reply to the unknown number. "We're not your game pieces. You don't get to write this." The message delivered. No dots appeared. No answer came. Maybe that was the real ending, or maybe just the pause before the next act.